Sam and I just wanted to talk about my IVF journey that I've gone through so far. I've gone through one cycle so far which was very hard, that has its ups and downs, but I wanted to share my journey with everyone because some people might want to find out more about it, and just hearing my story might help them. And I just wanted to offload a bit because this is new to me to do vlogging, and it's a bit scary, a bit daunting because I haven't got great confidence with a camera, so this is all new to me, so I hope you enjoy. Our journey started in 2016. After our honeymoon we decided we wanted to start having children, as you do after you've got married, bought a house. We wanted to start a family, so after 2 years of trying we thought, why is it not working, and we thought we'd go and see a doctor about it. After we went to the doctors, they said that Ben should take a semen test to see if there was anything wrong with his semen, and a few weeks later we found out that there was no sperm in his semen. So that was a bit concerning and a bit upsetting at the time, especially for Ben, because it feels like he's not manly enough to do it, and he got a bit depressed about it as well. And yeah, it was really hard to go through at the time because you don't know what's going on, you don't know whether it's me as well as him, because I hadn't had any tests done at all at this time. So we had to wait to be referred to a fertility clinic to find out what to do, more tests, and to find out what was going on, and that took months. We were waiting again for a very long time for this. It wasn't until 13th of January 2018 we got our first clinic appointment. At this they did a physical examination of Ben's testicles and scrotum just to check everything, see if it felt normal, if there was anything they could notice that wasn't right. They said it was all fine and seemed normal, so that was positive. She just said that it could be a blockage, or there could be no sperm in his testicles at all. So they did another sperm test to look at it again, just in case he didn't produce enough that first time, but he has been producing some. So it was just to double check his sperm. And then he had a blood test done, which was to check his testosterone levels and to see if he had the right hormones going on to produce the sperm. We had to wait 3 months for the results of the blood test, so it was another lot of waiting around and not knowing what it was, what that was causing us not to have a child yet. It was really hard all this time waiting, because you think you could just have a baby and, like other people, they just get pregnant straight away and it just happens. But we'd been waiting, we got to the point where it was 2 years ongoing, waiting for a baby, and we had to go through all this testing to find out what was going on, what was it. And I hadn't had any tests at this time still, because they were focused in on Ben, because as they'd seen from the sperm sample there wasn't anything there, so there was a bit of concern there what it could be, why he hasn't got any sperm coming out. Then saw that the bloods were fine, his bloods were normal as well, and they said that they did manage to see that was a dormant gene for cystic fibrosis, which corresponds to the fact that he hadn't been producing sperm, because with cystic fibrosis sperm is acidic, which it could have been, and sperm is very few as well. So it was dormant, and they had to then give me a blood test to see if I had the dormant gene too, because if I had, then our child would then have cystic fibrosis. They just needed to double check that I didn't have it. So I had a blood test. Mine came back clear, so we were quite lucky with that as well, that I didn't have it in me, so that was good. They then booked us in for a sperm retrieval to see if they could go inside and find any sperm. This is when they would cut into the scrotum and looking inside to see if there was any sperm. Ben's operation wasn't until October 2018 after that, because we had to wait 6 months to be put onto an appointment to have it cut open. Again, a lot of waiting. The whole process is about having patience and trying to wait. So I had to wait 4 hours for Ben's operation, which felt like such a long wait, and I was very upset that day. It was really hard to be waiting that long, not knowing what's going on, if they found anything at all. And then after they woke him up and I could go and see him again, Ben then let me know that they found sperm. It was the happiest feeling ever to know that they've actually found something, and that we might be able to have a child that's ours, mine and Ben's. And we were hopeful that we would, because Ben was very depressed with the idea of the child not being his. And I explained to him that it doesn't have to be blood, but it's just hard for him because he wanted it to be him. It was just a very hard time for him, and he was feeling very down and sensitive about it. But now we knew that we could actually have some sperm and give it a go with Ben. Now, they said that they found very, very little sperm, but they had 5 vials, which to me sounded really good. So we had something that we could use, which we thought we weren't going to have anything to use. So after the operation, Ben was off work for a little while because obviously it was very painful being cut down there, and he was off work for him to recover. We then had to wait till our next appointment to find out the details of the operation, because all we knew was they collected 5 vials and we didn't know if that was good or bad. But when we went to our appointment, they explained that Ben didn't have the vas that connected the storage of the sperm to his penis, so they couldn't come out. They're not able to come out at all. They're stuck in there. So the only way he'd be able to have more sperm in the future to do more IVF would be to collect the sperm surgically again. Because we had a very small amount of sperm, they said to us that we would need a backup as well, so maybe having a sperm donor alongside Ben's sperm, so then when they collect the eggs, my eggs are not just sat there and they don't need to go in the freezer, they can be used fresh. So we decided to go with a sperm donor, and you get sent a spreadsheet from the clinic of the height, eye colour, hair colour of different sperm donors, and it's like a catalogue. You just choose one that you think will best match. We tried matching it with Ben's eye colour, hair colour, height as well, and also they matched them with my blood. So we have very similar bloods and gives it more of a chance to work. So we went with Mr. Yellow, which was his name on the spreadsheet. And then Ben seemed a lot more okay with the idea of a sperm donor, because he knew that he had some that were his as well as sperm donor. And it took him a while to get his head round sperm donor, but now he seems a lot happier with the idea of it. He just wants to have a child, and if that means having a sperm donor, we have a sperm donor. We just want a baby. In the new year, it was my turn, so we're then in 2019, it was my turn to get all the tests done, ready for the IVF cycle. So I had blood tests done to make sure I haven't contracted any sexual diseases, and that I was ready to start a cycle. I then had to have an ultrasound to check everything looked normal inside as well, that I was ready to start the drugs. They checked my weight. Thing with my weight was it was too low, and I found it really hard to put the weight on. I started taking protein shakes every day to try and help put the weight on. That seemed to work, but it was a lot of stress with it because I just couldn't put it on naturally. The only thing that was doing anything was the protein shakes, and I'd have a day where my weight would go down again, and I'd worry that I would not be able to go through the IVF because of my BMI. So we went to collect all the drugs that we needed, and there just seemed like a lot in the bag. You get given the needles box, and you get given the needles that you need to put on the end of all the syringes and all the chemicals. Then we had to wait till my next period. The day after, I would have to start taking the pill, and the pill made me feel so poorly. Felt sick, I was bloated all the time. It was nasty to be on. It didn't work well with me. Might not for other people, but it didn't work for me very well. Like, feeling horrible, and it was horrible to be on. Didn't like it. After I'd been on that one for a few weeks, I then had to start doing the injections. So I decided to do it in my thighs, because if one was getting sore, I could then do it in the other one. In the same place, it was a bit sore, so it was handy to be able to do it in one thigh and then later on do it in another thigh. So in the mornings we did it at 6:30 every morning because that worked well with us. We both got up at 6 and then got it ready on the first day quite early and ready to inject it at 6:30. So it was like a chemistry lesson for us. Like, you had to measure out the right amount of chemical into the syringe, and then make sure there's no bubbles in it. The amount of times you get bubbles in it is really annoying, and then you have to do it all over again, and then you have to put the needle on the end of it yourself. And then I would squeeze my thigh, and in the lifted bit of skin I would then inject it into there, but I couldn't. The first time I did it, it was really hard, so I put it against my skin ready to do it, and I just teared up. I couldn't do it. It was too scary. I don't like anything like that. So Ben pushed it in for me, which I'm glad he did, because I would have found it really hard to do it myself. I probably wouldn't have done it. And then Ben helped me push in the chemical really slowly, because if you do it too fast, it's achy after. It's quite painful. So try and make sure you do it slowly. While I was taking Proserolin, I had to have an ultrasound to make sure that the down regulation drug was working and everything looked how it should. And then they said that I could start Mariafert, the next injection, which I would take 12 hours after Proserolin every day. So we did that at 6:30 after I finished work. I'd get home straight away and we'd start making up the drug together, which then I had to syringe out the chemical, and then I had to syringe back into a little pot that had a bit of powder in, and you mix it all in together. Then you syringe it out again, put it in the next powder and mix it up again, and you did that with however many vials of powder you needed to do a day, which they write down for you. Everything's given to you and explained to you before you get going on doing the drugs yourself at home. After I'd been taking Mariafert and Proserolin every day, I had an ultrasound towards the end, and it would show the size of the follicles. They had to count how many follicles there were and how much they measured. By the last ultrasound, they could measure the right amount and the length of follicles. So I had a good number of follicles and a few that were good length as well, which would carry then some eggs. So after that, they booked me in for the 20th of May to get my egg collection done. And I also had the day before to do my trigger injection, which was bigger. It looked bigger, the injection, but it was like a pen, and you had to twist it, the medicine ready, and then you would have to take the cap off and inject it again like you would of the other ones. And this one was just to make sure the eggs would be ready for the next day and could then be collected. So on the 20th of May we went to the hospital with some pyjamas, comfy stuff, and we were waiting around to be seen. After the egg collection, I was really poorly. I was seeing people that had already had it done before me and after me, going home fine, leaving the hospital. I was still in the hospital because I was being sick into the bowl, and they wouldn't let me go until I'd finished being sick and I felt a lot better. I don't know what it was, I just felt really poorly after. It must have been the anaesthetic wearing off. I was really poorly, and I was a bit sore for a few days after, and I just had the week off anyway to relax and just recover. But after the few days I was fine again, back to normal, a little bit bloated. So our treatment was ICSI treatment. So because Ben had to have his sperm surgically removed, we had to have the sperm injected into each egg, whereas with IVF it would all be mixed in a dish together, the sperm and the eggs. Whereas this was directly injected into the eggs, which I felt like there'd be a higher chance for the eggs to be fertilised then. So on the first day they called us to let us know how many eggs had fertilised. Waiting for the phone calls were really hard because you're counting down the minutes until they call you. So we had 10 eggs collected from our egg collection, and 7 of those had fertilised, and 3 were the donors and the other 4 were Ben's, which was brilliant. We didn't think any would have fertilised with Ben's at all, but they had, so this was brilliant news. We might actually have a child that was both of ours. So the next day we got another phone call. 7 had divided, which is brilliant news. We hadn't lost any that day. And then the next day they said that 1 had divided too quickly and grown too quickly, so we lost 1, which then we had 6. And then as the days goes on, like, the numbers kept going down, but that's normal. The last day we had 3, and this was 5 days after. So we had 1 that was Ben's and had grown brilliantly, developed. The other 2 were the donors, and they said we'll get you in for the egg transfer for the 25th. So we went in on the 25th to get it put back in. So we used Ben's embryo first for our first time because we thought, let's give it a shot, we may as well try it, see if it works. It was a grade 3BC embryo, so they said it was an alright embryo. It wasn't the best, but we were going to give it a shot. So when we had the egg transfer, you see this little bubble come out of the needle at the end inside. You can watch it on the ultrasound, which is amazing. It looked really good. It was fun to watch. It was really amazing. And then you have to wait 2 weeks after that, which is such a long wait, to see if it actually worked. And we were being so careful, looking after it, trying to make sure I wasn't lifting anything, just trying to be careful, but at the same time acting normal again. Because the best thing to do, people have said, is not to rest. So I was still going back to work and just being a bit cautious at work, because I work in a nursery, so there's a lot of lifting sometimes. But it was good to keep busy for 2 weeks rather than sitting at home thinking about it the whole time. I was eating pineapple cores as well. I had 1 a day. Don't know if that helped with anything, but I gave it a go. You try anything to make it work. And then it was test day, so we were very worried about taking the test, and took the test, and I couldn't look at it because I couldn't see a line straight away, so I put it down in the bathroom and walked away from it, and I had a little cry because I was really, like, overwhelmed and scared that it's going to say no, because I already thought that's what's going to happen. And Ben came walking and he said, "Why are you getting upset?" I was like, "Because I'm scared and I don't think it's worked. And he said, come with me, come with me. So we walked back into the bathroom and he showed me the test and it was positive. It was so amazing. And I was so happy. And there was a rainbow outside actually when I rang my mum to let her know it was positive. Everyone was so happy with it, and we were very careful afterwards as well because we wanted to look after this little embryo that had latched on. And we were measuring the size of it as you do on the apps that you can get, measuring what fruit it would be the size of. And we had our first scan booked in for the 7th week to make sure baby was all okay and it had grown well. And the week before our ultrasound, I had a period while I was at work. There was a lot of blood, and my boss took me to hospital and they had confirmed that there wasn't anything, so that I'd lost it. So I still went to my ultrasound because they advised to still go to the ultrasound. So I went to the ultrasound the week after and it just confirmed there was nothing there, so we had lost it. Then we had an appointment later on, a few weeks later, to go back and talk about how we felt about the failed ICSI treatment. I got a bit upset with the nurse because she said that it must have been a chemical pregnancy, whereas I know that there was something there that was growing, because when I had gone to the toilet and when I was bleeding, there was quite a bit of a lump in there that was very squidgy, and you don't need to know the details, but it definitely was something that was growing. I found that really hard to get rid of. I put it in the bathroom bin, and I couldn't go in the bathroom anymore because it was in the bin. I just felt like I'd just thrown it away. So I managed to get the confidence to go in the bathroom and empty the bin and take it out to the dustbin outside, because then it was out the house and gone. And I managed to do that, but while I was putting it into another bin bag to take out with me, I just couldn't stop saying I'm so sorry to this thing. But I think it was something I needed to do, just get it out of the house. We had a holiday booked for November, so we didn't know if we were going on this holiday or not, depending on whether the IVF worked. So after it had failed, we decided to go on the holiday because we needed something positive. We needed to go on a holiday and just forget everything, and it was brilliant. It worked. Definitely book a holiday after, because you just need to get away and not forget about what happened, but just switch off and enjoy yourself together rather than stressing. That really helped us after. And definitely talking to each other all the time really helps. Just remembering you've got each other and not to take it out on each other at all, because it's no one's fault. Then after the holiday, when we came back, we were feeling refreshed and we weren't really thinking about kids anymore. We weren't in that impatient frame of mind where we want to just have kids. So it was nice knowing that we did have IVF to come back and start again with. but we're not impatient about it, so we're just waiting until our first appointment again now. We have talked about if this one doesn't work, we will be taking a break, and because it's too much, so many ups, so many downs, it does drain you, and it's hard on both of you. But we're lucky we've managed to stick together through the whole thing. We know we've got each other. If you have any questions about anything, please message me or put a comment down below. There might be things I haven't covered. There was so much to cover because I didn't manage to film my last cycle. I will be filming this cycle that I do. And I hope it wasn't too much of me just talking at you, because that can be a bit boring. So thank you for watching anyway, and I hope I've helped somebody out there. Or if you've got any advice for me how to deal with loss, or how to deal with the next cycle, because I'm a bit worried and scared about doing it again, but we'll do it one last time and hopefully we'll see what happens. Well, thank you for watching, guys. Bye!